Hey, Eighth Grade History, this is Mr. Barnett, and I'm coming to you live from my back porch, because if you're going to do school from your house, why not do it from your back porch? So we've been talking about World War II, and I want to give you some personal information regarding World War II, just people stuff. Because history is about people. History is about what happened to people and what they did because of what happened. My grandfather was in World War II. He actually was a pilot during World War II. Here's a picture of my grandparents. That's them in 1940 when they got married. And you can see this is my dad's parents. But as you can see, I look more like my grandmother than my grandfather. The interesting part was my grandfather was about 6'6". My grandmother was about 5'3". And so they made an odd pair, but obviously she's sitting on a stool. He's probably sitting on the floor. So they can get this picture. But they were young, and they were newlyweds in 1940. Of course, the war starts for us in 1941. By 1943, he is in the Army. Here he is in the Army, and as you can see, he's a lieutenant. There's that little bar that indicates that he's a lieutenant. He's a pilot. And so the Army Air Corps, the Air Force was not invented until 1947. So the Air Force was really a part of the Army. It was called the Army Air Corps. There were two kinds of planes you could fly. You could fly bombers, or you could fly fighter jets, or actually weren't jets. They were still prop planes. So you could be a fighter pilot, or you could be a bomber. He was a bomber pilot, and he flew the B-17, which is actually called the Flying Fortress. On this plane, of course, you would have several thousand pounds of bombs. Notice it's got 4 propellers instead of just 2, because it needs that kind of power to get off the ground. And on that plane, you would have a pilot, a co-pilot, a bombardier, a navigator, a radio guy, and then you'd have several machine guns. There'd actually be one, you can see the ball turret up on top. And I'll get a little closer. You can see the machine gun off the top. There are 2 what's called waist gunners. So 50 caliber machine guns sticking out the sides of the plane. And if you look right back here, and if I can get close enough, you can see it. There's actually a machine gun out the back. So you have 2 waist gunners, a ball turret gunner, and a tail gunner, all with 50 caliber machine guns. Now, because you got machine guns sticking out of the side of the plane, you can't pressurize it. So if you get above 10,000 feet, you've got to wear oxygen. And by the way, at altitude, about 25, 30,000 feet, it's about minus 40 degrees outside. So it's 40 below zero. So these guys, even in the middle of summertime, are taking off wearing these big, heavy coats. But they're flying missions over Germany, bombing, and they're dropping bombs. The Americans decided to bomb during the daytime. And the upside of that, of course, you can see what you're trying to hit. The downside of that is that they can see you too. So the enemy can see you. The British decided to bomb at night because the cover of darkness makes it hard for them to be seen. But by the way, it's also hard to see your target. The interesting part is the Germans were getting bombed either by day or by night. Every day there was some new thing they were trying to bomb. I have a picture of my grandfather's flight crew, and you can see that's him right there. He's the big tall guy in the back. But you can see that's a 9-man crew. So you'd have a pilot, a co-pilot, bombardier, navigator, ball turret gunner, tail gunner, and 2 waist gunners. And these guys are trying to fend off all of the German and Japanese, but all the German fighter pilots who are trying to take them out of the sky. So they're shooting back. And that's why they call it the Flying Fortress. It was a very sturdy plane. You could shoot at it and get bullet holes in it. It wouldn't phase it. There were planes actually had part of the tail section blown off, and they still survived. But in the early part of the war, about a third of the crews were the only ones that survived. 2/3 of the crews weren't coming back because they were either getting shot down My grandfather was actually shot down in 1944 and was captured by the Germans and spent about 8 weeks in a German prisoner of war camp. So when I talk about World War II, we talk about later conflict, I have a personal vested interest in this because, again, my grandfather was a pilot. Hope that helps you. Hope that makes it easier for you to understand. Wanted to make it personal for you. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully we'll be together soon. But for right now, watch this video, take a few notes, and we will see you hopefully week after next. Have a great day.